I call the Honourable Member Kevin Haig.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am a freedom camper. I spend my holidays cycle touring this great country of ours, or at least I used to spend my holidays doing that when I got to take them at times when I wasn't competing with peak motorised traffic on the roads. And most nights when I'm bike touring, I probably do sleep in a bed. Actually, as I've got older, it seemed more comfortable. However, when I go bike touring, I always take a tent and always end up sleeping some nights camping out, freedom camping, because camping will oftentimes be the best or the most attractive option or the only option. And I guess I pride myself in leaving my campsite as I found it, except perhaps maybe a little bit of flattened grass. And to me, that's a very valuable part of New Zealand tradition. It's something that many New Zealanders, and I think we're going to hear today, many of the people in this House value. So it pains me to have seen in recent decades more and more places that I have personally camped in and that make really good campsites becoming off limits, and more and more people thus channelled into commercial campgrounds and away from being self-reliant. It also, I must say, irritates me to see the term freedom camping, which I think perfectly describes that New Zealand tradition that I've referred to, used to mean something quite different. Because although the definition of the term in this bill will catch the genuine freedom camping that I've described, it's really targeted at one particular group of people, those who travel around in camper vans that don't have toilet facilities and are therefore cheaper. That's what it's actually about. So let me be clear. I know that there is a genuine problem with this group of people. When I was a member of the West Coast Taipōtini Conservation Board, we received a number of delegations from councils coming to us to complain that that too many tourists were being attracted to our region by the fantastic West Coast Conservation Estate. And if any members of the House are not familiar with the features of that estate, I could certainly recommend it to them. And councils were saying that a proportion of those people would be parking their camper vans in rest areas and at other points next to the road. And there was a problem both of litter and a larger problem that those camper vans, or many of them, did not have toilets. And council staff were needing to take time and money in a very unpleasant cleaning up process. So there's a genuine problem. But what's there is the solution to that problem that is most consistent with maintaining rights and freedoms and with continuing to encourage our vital tourism industry? Unsurprisingly, sir, the Tourism Industry Association has been aware of this problem and has been working on it for some years and had developed a solution. And their solution had an operating assumption that, in general, people come to this country because of our clean, green reputation, and they do not set out to undermine or despoil it. So the people who rent these particular kinds of camper vans, the cheaper ones, are in general some of those who are most enthusiastic about our environment. They're renting these vans because they don't have much money. And the fact that they have chosen to spend their limited resources to come here speaks volumes about the high priority that they place and set on our environment. So while, of course, there are some ratbags that simply don't care, for the most part, the people who rent these camper vans would look after our environment if they could. So the smart approach is to work to make it easier for them to do precisely that. Put simply, creating more places that are sensibly spaced, that have toilet facilities and rubbish facilities, where camper vans can spend the night, is the smart way to go. With the camper van companies charged with the responsibility of disseminating information about the responsibility to use these places and information about exactly where they are. That's the solution that was being developed and had not yet been given the chance to work before this approach from the government and indeed from local government New Zealand was imposed. So now some critics will say that some local authorities will have large, attractive areas and a small ratepayer base. And that's a fair point. I live in one such area, and there are other members of this House that do also. So it's a common problem, and I know it's a real one too. That's at the heart of the difficulty of providing good quality health services in many of our rural areas, for example. It's the reason cited by the West Coast Regional Council for being unable to adequately monitor compliance with resource consents as closely as it would like to. But let's also remember that these tourists are contributing to local economies with their spending on everything except accommodation. They buy food, fuel, visitor experiences and so on from local businesses. And many businesses benefit directly from having them in the region. And many others benefit indirectly. So it seems a reasonable ask that the local economy should contribute to some of the facilities needed by tourists, particularly when those facilities alleviate other costs that would otherwise be borne locally, as in this case. And in those cases where a local community still cannot afford the cost of these facilities, then our view, the view of the Green Party, is that the Sanitary Works subsidy scheme needs to step up. Government needs to ensure that the scheme is sufficiently well resourced and flexible to be able to provide assistance to those local communities to assist them with providing camper van facilities. After all, our whole New Zealand economy benefits from the tourism industry, and it's reasonable that the whole economy therefore helps provide the tourism infrastructure required. This is the right approach, and this is the approach that should be allowed time to gain traction to deal with the problem. Instead, the approach being adopted is a punitive one. It might work, it's possible that it will, but it seems a less likely method to work than the one I have outlined, because the problem here is that people want to do the right thing but can't do. More broadly, it replaces the welcome mat that we extend to tourists with warnings of harsh penalties. This runs a great risk of being counterproductive. In all this debate, which has been going on for some years now, one of the facts that I find most curious is that there is almost no hard information about the size of the problem. Perhaps the Select Committee might challenge officials and submitters to try to provide this. I suspect that it's an extensive problem and undoubtedly a very unpleasant one, but actually relatively small. There is some irony then that this bill is being advanced just now. I think we established in the House that one dairy cow produces about the same volume of excrement as about 14 human beings. The government is planning for 1 million extra dairy cows. And despite having the historic consensus provided through the Land and Water Forum of both those who use water, such as the dairy industry, and conservationists, to put in place a national policy statement on fresh water, including Federated Farmers, Mr Hyde also, the Minister has elected not to include the provision that would have required resource consent for dairy intensification. Seems a little ironic in this debate today. The extra pollution that will be caused by that one decision will dwarf the pollution that could be caused by literally hordes of camper van tourists. This bill sets out on the wrong direction, casts the net too widely, and is the proverbial sledgehammer to crack a walnut. The Green Party will oppose it.
Thank you. Mr Speaker.
I